Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is episode 2 of Powerful Women in St. Andrews, and I have one of my friends with me here today, Amelia Ward, but I will be calling you Mimi for the purposes of this video. Mimi, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Amelia, but I tend to go by Mimi, as Kiki just said. I'm a third year student studying IR and French, and I'm English and Australian.
So I asked you here today firstly because obviously you are someone who inspires me. We had a talk over summer just before third year started, and you made me feel so motivated to write my CV and apply for things. And honestly, I remember speaking to you about that and thinking, oh, I need to get my shit together because she looks like someone who has got everything put together.
Yeah, no, I think, well, I don't know. I also didn't have really any of it together until sort of the end of first year, when I met my current boyfriend, because he has everything together all the time. And I was like the same reaction. I was like, right, I need to get myself together. And I think it just takes someone really showing you how to construct a CV, how to write a good cover letter, and just like the premise of cold emailing in the first place for you to really like crack down. I know that he helped me so much. So I think that in this extremely competitive job market that we all have right now, we all need like to help each other out to get anything. So I was
Yeah,
glad to help.
absolutely. Yeah, what made you want to apply for the senior editor job at her campus?
There's two parts of it. There's the editor part and there's the her campus part. I have always kind of subconsciously or consciously been editing friends' work they sent me. It's just kind of something that I've always done and I really enjoy. I love writing, I love editing. And so I knew that I wanted some experience in it. And so I started looking for magazines in St. Andrews that I could apply to. And her campus has only been around for one semester, so it started up when I kind of started that search. It really did instantly stand out to me. I always try to get involved in things that are like empowering women, because that is something that is really important to me, is just making sure that we all lift each other up as much as possible. And the idea of writing about pretty much anything that interests university women and that's written by university women, I think is such an important niche, because so often these things will be like tossed aside as irrelevant or as basic or whatever it is. But when we write about issues like the political coup in America, alongside issues of like style and beauty and things like that, I think it's really important at destigmatizing them and making everything on one level that takes women seriously. I think that's so important. So it was kind of the combination of both those things that made me want it so badly, and fortunately I got it.
Was there anything that you read, as in that you've edited, that you thought, wow, this has really changed my point of view, or something that you really enjoyed?
It's like interesting. I think another thing that I benefit from as senior editor is getting to read all these articles that I might not necessarily click on in the first place, because like everyone, I have my interests as well. And there are some that I find so interesting that it would never have occurred to me to read. So whether it's like our podcast ones, I think those are so good. But there was one in particular, I think it was written by our writer Molly Finn, it was a film review of, I think it's called The Assistant or something. It kind of just went into the whole Harvey Weinstein, Me Too movement, but from a very cinematic point of view. And I just loved the way she wrote it. I thought that the way she encapsulated the female experience without doing the same narrative that we've all kind of heard for a long time, that very one-sided, like, oh, poor women, it's tough to be a woman, that kind of thing. I thought she gave it so much agency, and I thought it was really, really well written. And then also another piece was about town and gown relations. I thought that was really, really good at summing up the St. Andrews experience and what makes it such a good university, that we have such tight community here, and every time we come back it does sort of feel like a home away from home, and how that's changed because of the pandemic. I thought it was a really interesting piece.
Yeah, wow. I actually wanted to ask you how heavy your workload is, because I mean, I feel like, because I'm a writer, I don't really do that much except for write an article every 2 months, so it's not really that big of a deal for me. But as an editor, you have to read so many different pieces and edit so many different things. So what's that like, juggling that with work and your life in general? I mean, not that we currently have a life right now, but just
Yeah, I think that's helped so much, is like actually not having a life. So I don't really have to juggle trying to see friends, because it's not like I can really see anyone. But that aside, at her campus, I have another senior editor who's called Nadia, who's amazing. I absolutely love her. We edit 3 articles each per week. And it really, I think after you've done it a couple of weeks in a row, it doesn't get quite so overwhelming. I think the fact that really well written and that they are so engaging definitely helps. Like I feel like I am learning something new every time I read it, which is really fun. And so that's not honestly too difficult if I just block out time. Like Wednesdays I don't usually have too much class, so Wednesdays is my editing day. And also, so in addition to Hair Campus, I have an internship that I've been doing since September with a charity in Edinburgh called SmartWorks, which basically clothes unemployed women who have an interview and coaches them for the interview process. So again, it just helps women get into work. And I write an article a week for them. But I think, first of all, juggling it is made so much easier when you're actually interested in what you're doing. So that's a big obvious plus. And two, I think growing up I've always kind of had stuff to do. Like I've always been doing homework and then seeing friends and then just doing sports, and I think that's taken so much of my time and it's really taught me how to be regimented. So when I don't have that much stuff to do, I get so lazy, I'm so unproductive. So I think having more things to do definitely helps in a weird way.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. I think it's a lot more motivational when you've got things to do and you have to get them done.
Yeah.
It just makes you want, I mean, not necessarily makes you want to do them more, but because you have to do it, you're gonna do it.
Exactly. And I think it's such a good, like, academic side. Obviously, I love what I study and things, but it's nice to be able to actively pursue things that I'm interested in outside of academia, and also that I feel like will actually help me for my future in landing a job and all that. So it's kind of a combination of things, but interest is kind of the key part of it.
Well, yeah, actually, speaking of academia, I wanted to ask you what your degree has really taught you outside of academia, because I always think that's really important, personal development and personal writing, or just things that you've learned from your degree.
Yeah, definitely. So my grandma in Australia, she has this mantra that she says every single time we go to her and we're about to start uni, and she's like, "You're not going to learn your subject, you're going to learn how to think." And I was like, all right, okay, Granny. But I think it actually is a really good point, and that's something that IR has massively taught me, is how to take what's going on currently and kind of dismantle everything that went into that and making it a political piece, like the perspectives that are shown, the perspectives that aren't shown. I think it's just taught me how to analyze on a much deeper level and look much more critically at things, which I've really, really enjoyed doing. I mean, specifically, like, obviously I don't want to get too IR-y, but like with the China Taiwan thing right now, and just media that comes out of US versus out of Asia specifically, or about the Middle East, because I lived in the Middle East for 7 years and I love, or I kind of hate looking at the media that comes out about it, because it's always so one-sided, and I just think it's so interesting. So I love IR for that, and kind of helping me do something that I'd always wanted to be able to do, which was look more critically at the media and about world events, I guess.
I mean, actually, this is a personal question for me, but you were going to go study abroad this year, or you were meant to study abroad this year. What's your plan for what's going to happen? Like, is that going to happen? Is that still in the plan of next year?
Not. Unfortunately, it's really not. I had been meant to go away for the whole year, and then I pushed it back a semester to go this semester. And obviously, none of us could have foreseen the new variant and all of that chaos. So I'm not going. And they do have the option for some to go at the start of next semester in fourth year. But I think at that point, I just love St Andrews too much. I just want to stay here, and to compensate for the like lost experience, I guess, because my French really needed it, to be honest. I'm really looking like so hard to get an internship in Paris this summer, or in France in general. So I've been applying to a ton of things there, just to really get some professional paid experience, hopefully, and some experience actually speaking French on the daily, having to form like complex sentences, as basic as it sounds. So I'm still trying to get that experience, but I'll let you know how it goes.
Trust me, I relate to the whole foreign languages, trying to keep up in a conversation type thing. So you mentioned your internship. Have you had any experiences working with them that you wanted to share?
Obviously, it's all been remote, so it's kind of limited to an extent, but I write articles for the news section of their website, and I think my favorite part about the whole experience has been getting involved in a whole other community of women that's actively, I think just the job market in general, it's every year there's an increasingly large graduating class and an increasingly limited amount of jobs, it feels like, and career opportunities. So to help other women get access to the same opportunities, even the same starting point, I think what you wear for an interview and how you answer basic questions is so important, and so many women especially don't have access to that kind of information, and that's why I really wanted to get involved with smart works. Like I said, I write articles, and one article that I wrote was a recap of an event that we hosted with a comedian. She's a British comedian. She does practically everything. She's hosted podcasts. She's had a talk show on the BBC and everything. Her name's Aisha Hazarika. I basically sort of interviewed her, sort of just recapped the questions that she was answering. And I thought that was so interesting just to get experience of this woman who has done like a very uncommon career path. She's accomplished a thousand things, but from the most random meandering of routes. I thought it was fascinating. I really, really enjoyed that. And I had no idea who she was before, but I found her really inspirational. So getting that experience was really, really fun. I really enjoyed that.
That's so cool. And are there any other people that you wanted to talk about who inspire you in your personal life or maybe academically?
I think this is probably like not the most common of answers, because I think a lot of people have one idol perhaps who they've like looked up to forever. I think mine has always been a collection of different people around me at different times who whether it's growing up in different countries and I've seen different people in those environments. So I'm like, this is who I'm going to work towards this year. This is who I'm going to work towards this year. So it's definitely been varied. A lot of it has just been friends, like little aspects of my friends that I really admire, like confidence or like the ability to do something kind of unconventional and feel cool about it and things. I don't know. But so probably I'd say if I had to like narrow it down to top three that kind of stuck consistently, it would be Maya Angelou, because I just love her writing. And I think she has one quote that I've just always kind of remembered, that was, the important thing is having people remember how you made them feel. There's more and that's better said before that, but the main thing stuck with me, and I think that is really important, is the main impact that I want to have on people is how I make them feel, and I want to make them feel good and strong and empowered and confident. And then obviously my parents, growing up across the world and raising three kids, and particularly easy, and I think they've done a pretty good job of it, so I always admire that. And then Emma Watson, because she's just incredible. And I think from the whole sustainability and fashion point of view, for me anyway, she really kind of pioneered making that seem quite a cool thing and destigmatizing it from being like only hippies really care about the environment, which, you know, kudos to them. But I think she really helped me adopt it in a much more intense and impactful way in my life, which I really admire.
Actually, she's one of my inspirations as well. I think just when you grow up with someone like we did with Emma Watson, and you see what kind of a person she turned into, it's hard not to be inspired by something like that.
Exactly. And I think more so is the fact that she didn't have to grow up in a light that we all admire. Like, there are so many Disney stars and things like that who have made amazing things of their careers, but what I admire most about her is that she decided not to turn it towards herself, but towards giving other things a bigger platform, like sustainability, like feminism, now the Black Lives Matter movement things. I think that really stuck with me. I found that really inspirational.
I've also like read a bit about different experiences that she's had as well, and just a bunch of sexist stuff that I don't want to kind of mention right now. But have you had any experiences that you've been uncomfortable with, or actually positive experiences too, just like being a woman at uni or in your internship? And I mean, your internship's very heavily women focused, so is her campus. But have you had any experiences that you want to share?
I would generally say that I've been very fortunate to have very good experiences as a woman in St Andrews at university and professionally and things like that. But I think that I'm kind of an odd one out in that I've always had a bizarre kind of unmerited level of confidence that has like come about because of being so heavily involved in sports growing up and having to actively compete with boys all the time and constantly prove myself. That gave me to the point where it made me want to be better than boys and things like that. And that gave me such an unshakable sense of confidence in my abilities that I don't know, I don't know, my whole thing, which is definitely kind of annoying for everyone else at times, is just proving people, like specifically men, that I can do exactly what they can, and I can usually do it better. And as silly as that sounds, I think that that's really helped me have such a positive experience. I mean, we shouldn't have to make men take it seriously, but when they do, there's not really much that they can say that's going to take you down. So that's kind of a roundabout way of saying that I haven't really had any experiences.
No, but that's good. And I think it's helpful for you as an individual to go forward. Like, what do you want to do after uni? Oh, I've hit her with the hard question.
Yeah, so annoyingly, I have just way too many things that I think that I'd be good at. Like I have way too much confidence. No, I have way too many things that I'm interested in doing. So fundamentally, I'd say writing is probably definitely going to be a part of it, because if I had one skill, it would probably be being able to write half decently and edit another half decently, which kind of sort of meshes. And so journalism has always been something I've loved to pursue, whether that's style and fashion journalism, because that is one of my big interests, or more serious like political journalism. We're still hovering between that, but equally I love consulting and things like that, and like social policy development, so like, and diplomacy. So it really just depends. Right now I'm just trying to get as much experience as possible, to test the water as much as possible, really. And that's why French is such an asset, I think, because it just broadens my horizons a little bit more. I just want the world, but I'll let you know when
The world is your oyster, my dear. Is there any advice that you would offer to anyone trying to gain experience, land an internship, someone who has no clue where to begin? I mean, even the confidence that you just mentioned, that's quite a big thing as well.
Like you said, I think the first thing is realizing yourself that you are prepared for that role, you could easily do that role and you could excel in that role, and that B, if you don't get something, it's not because you weren't good enough, it's because you weren't what they were looking for. And I think that's such an important thing to think about, because with this whole situation, it's inevitable that you'll get probably dozens, if not hundreds of rejections, but you only need one acceptance. And I think realizing that it's not because you're not good enough is really, really key, is kind of maintaining your sense of self throughout. On a more like practical level, cold emailing is pretty much what's gotten me almost all of my opportunities, and reaching out, looking at LinkedIn and seeing who is in charge of human relations and things like that, or recruitment at different companies, is really important. And just keeping an eye out and keeping your horizons pretty broad, I think. I mean, obviously I'm not the ideal candidate because I have way too many things I want to do, but if you want to go into publishing, then look at publishing, yeah, sure, essentially, but then also as a wider umbrella, look at all the different ways that you can do publishing, but maybe in different industry or in a different position that you wouldn't have anticipated before. And that'll definitely help, because in the end you can still get to the same place, but you, in this society where so many people are applying to these things, I think being ready to be as flexible as possible is really, really important.
Yeah, I think just applying as well in general, because
Yeah,
I think a lot of the work goes into the pre-thinking and planning to send an application out, and not actually into sending the application out.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I've definitely had that struggle, especially recently.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And yeah, especially with like decreased motivation and like double thinking your CV, like, oh, is it good enough? Is this email good enough? I think just going with it and just saying it's the best that I can do right now, so that's going to have to be good enough, and just applying, just doing it.
Well, we just discussed this, but what have you been doing to try and stay motivated? Because I know that's just been lacking this semester.
Yeah, so it definitely has. Obviously, it is kind of dependent of where you are and what your specific lockdown rules are, but walks with friends or just walks in general have been really, really good for me. Getting that fresh air, even though it's January and it's like undeniably the worst month for weather in the year, I think it is really important to get out and clear your mind, whether that's for a walk or a run or whatever it is. That's really key. And also for me, self-care has always been such a big part of making myself feel like I've worked hard enough and I kind of deserve to take care of myself. And also just transitioning into my evening or start of my day, I think it's a really good way to build a routine with your skincare routine, or just a shower at the end of the day at a specific time, and getting up at a specific time, I think is really, really helpful. But I'm definitely still struggling in the motivation department, so I've by no means got it down.
I think for me, it's fixing the sleep schedule that really
Yeah,
needs to happen. It's not been
exactly.
happening. I've
Building
been saying it for
routine.
months and months and months.
For me though, the thing is that I'll go to bed at like sort of around like a good time. I mean, like an hour and a half later than I want to, but around 11:30. I'll wake up at like 9. I get like a weird amount of sleep.
11:30 is like early for me.
So me, I'm like, oh, get off TikTok. But no, so and then I'll wake up at 9, but I just stay in bed for like for waking up to actually getting out of bed for me is the real issue right now. I just want to stay there forever. So that's what I'm currently working on. And I can't speak to this yet because I haven't actually tried it, but I'm gonna start doing like morning walks just to get me out the house and to clear my mind first thing in the morning. And so I'll let you know if that improves my motivation. But I'm really hoping.
Yeah, no, I literally cannot get out of my bed. That's how cold I feel in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this little interview with me. I appreciate it immensely.
You're welcome.
Uh,
I hope it was somewhat helpful.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everyone is gonna love it. But
Um,
yeah, we'll just sign off, and thank you everyone for watching.